After quite a long break after Coda, round 6 of season 2, I believe, of the Cross Touring Cup brings us to the Dutch city of Zandvoort for the Circuit Park Zandvoort for round 6 of season 2 of the Cross Touring Cup. My name is Alex Andersen. I am joined in the booth by Tom Dillon with Adam Thompson in our virtual production truck. Bit of information about this great racetrack. Zandvoort has been the center of the Dutch racing scene and its most important circuit, at least for four-wheeled racing, since the late 1940s, helping put the seaside resort town on the world stage. Home to the Dutch Formula One Grand Prix between 1952 and 1985, the circuit went into decline thereafter and was drastically shortened before becoming a popular home to the Masters Formula 3 race, helping to groom a wealth of young talent along the way. The meteoric rise of Max Verstappen propelled the Dutch round back into the consciousness of race promoters. An extensive upgrade to bring the circuit up to FIA Grade 1 standards followed, with the insertion of banking at, sorry if I mess up the pronunciation, the Hugenholzbocht, and the Arie Bolt being the major features. Those are the bankings in the third and final corner, which we're on an old scan on iRacing today for this track. So, Tom, it's going to be quite interesting to see this track because obviously it's a little bit more narrow than it is now. The banking is a lot lower in a lot of the corners than it is now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys tackle this track.
The two main changes is that final corner is not banked in this version of the track. Also, this corner here, normally in the real world, it's much more banked than it looks like on here, which means that we won't be seeing drivers chucking the car in there, which is very interesting indeed. I would argue that this is the inferior version of the track compared to that wonderful banking that we've seen in the real world of Formula 1. However, this is the track that's in iRacing, and arguably one where overtaking is much more difficult, Alex, as we see the starting grid.
Yeah, Eduardo Pecorini, no surprise there, sits on pole once again, the only driver to break into the 134s with a 134.959, and he did that by a while with Eddie Aguiar, 8/10 of a second behind him there in P2. Gary Cantera ends up P3. Bobby Rossi needs some good points here. He's in P4. Frank Appa in P5. Devin Bratcher in P6. Jake Ham in P7. Chad Seep in P8. Patrick Cobb in P9. And Robert Schwenkler gets the pole by a little over half a second for the GT4 class compared to Paul Mikolajczyk, who starts behind him in 11th. Then it's Jerry DiPiero in 12th. And then behind them, it's James Keir in 13th, Glenn McTavish in 14th, Grant Turner in 15th, Rob Neville in 16th, and Jimmy Howitt rounds out your field for tonight in P17. And we have a full pace lap at this circuit, so we have a few things to talk about while we get that underway. I mean, I believe it was a 2-week gap from the last race in this series, which was an hour-and-a-half long race at Coda, compared to what it is today at Zandvoort with a 5-minute race. Now, these guys are going to be used to this, as that's what they've normally been running. But, I mean, the switch is... You would think that the switch might be awkward for a few of these guys, no? After running the long hour-and-a-half endurance race, shortening it back down to 45 minutes, you think some guys may mess up their strategy from that?
Not really. I think this is these are drivers that are relatively competent and should be able to approach the new race after the 3-4 week or so season break. So not too many concerns there. But here are the points. Eduardo Pecorini is leading the way only by 2 points in the GT3 category. Alec Bergstrom in second position out of the United States. Again, only conceding 2 points to Eduardo Pecorini. Josh Clogg is in third with 81 points. Further back from him is Bobby Ross, and then in rounding out the top 5 is Kerry Cantera with 60 points. As for the GT4 category, it's Michael Darling on top there with 13 points of a gap to Grant Turner behind him. Paul Mikolajczyk is in third position, the number 01 car, 89 points, so not too far back at all. After a bit of a poor run of luck, Robert Schwenkler is in fourth position for Dangeruss Motorsports with 78 points, and then 1 point behind him is James Keir-Sir. So, as we get ready to watch the start of this race, the cars, I believe, just heading around Sector 2 now. And I believe we have a word from our producer.
Hey guys, as you can see there on the top of your screen, we do have 3 classes at the moment. 2 of them say Pecorini. You've got the GT3s, and then a gray bar, and then the GT4s. This is because we are trying to work through, and we will get worked through, Eddie Aguiar's driver iRacing ID. Once that gets fixed, you will see those change. So just work through us when we go through this minor difficulty. But Eddie Aguiar is in the GT3 class.
Good word from our producer there to clarify that for some of you guys who could be confused. And as these guys round turn number 10, I mean, like you said, Tom, this passing here is going to be a lot difficult. And I mean, especially in the part when it comes to lapped traffic. I mean, this track, it's very narrow in this layout, and there's not a lot of places to pass. So lap traffic could very well affect a lot of these guys' races and could hold up a lot of fast drivers trying to move themselves up a place.
Absolutely, Alex, and I look through the track and the main overtaking opportunities, perhaps Tarzan boxed down into turn 1. I think we just run with Tarzan there. I believe boxed his turn in Dutch, and then perhaps that final corner as well is going to be the interesting places to overtake with a run down the straight into that Tarzan turn.
Yeah, and as these guys come to round the final few corners, we're going to get racing here as Eduardo Pecorini slows the field up just a little bit there, lets the pace car pull out in front. Slow coming around this corner, only around 40 miles an hour. There we go. He speeds it up just a tad. Everybody's going to have to get ready as they let the pace car go a little bit further ahead of them through the final corner they come. Remember, it's not banked. It's going to be a little bit harder to traverse. And as they roll down the front straightaway, the iRacing safety car is going to dive into the safety of the pit lane. And now it's all up to the drivers as they wait for the green flag to get this race underway. And the green flag is out. We're racing at Circuit Park Zandvoort. Eduardo Pecorini with a great start there. Kerry Cantero, though, already going for a little bit of a move there. And it looks like Eduardo Pecorini is going to get the lead going into turn 1. Frank Appa trying to fight around the outside. Kerry Cantero gets the better of that spot. They're side by side coming into turn 2. And it looks like Frank Appa is going to be on the inside for that battle. And it looks like we're going to move back to the GT4 class, see what these guys are up to in their first class. Here's Robert Schwenkler. Paul Mikulajczyk right on his back bumpers. They head through turn number 3. And down a short chute to turn number 6, I believe. It could be 5. And this is where these guys are going to get the most drafting opportunities, and that's where it's probably it's going to be difficult to make moves into the corner following up this straight. It's a pretty fast right-hander. It's downhill as well, and it's pretty narrow with a bit of a late apex, but Paul Mikulajczyk riding the back bumper of that number 235 car, there's no doubt in my mind that he could potentially make a move.
And look at the gap him and Rob have been able to pull to James Keir-Sir just behind them in third position. 2.93 seconds already as he has a look to the outside, just trying to widen up the corner, unable to get on through at the moment. And oh, he's into the wall! He's Paul Mikulajczyk!
I am not sure what happened there, but he is stopped at the exit of turn number 10, and that is going to pretty much end his night here in contention for anything. I'm not sure what just happened to him. It looks like the track map is showing that he's still stopped right there. Here's the replay of it. They head through turn number 10, I believe this is. It looks like he puts the power down, gets on the curb, wiggles a little, and the car just goes straight around and into the tire barrier, or excuse me, the Armco, and that's going to end his night. It looks like very unfortunate for a driver who looked like they had so much speed early on.
Absolutely, and disappointment for him as his race appearing not to be completely over yet. He's still going again. However, that number 1 car certainly battered and bruised. Going to have to use his one fast repair already. Surely that they are allowed to use throughout the race. This has given Robert Schwenkler, a great deal of breathing room. 3.5 seconds already behind to James Kears. At the top of the field, Eduardo Pecorini, normal programming has resumed on his end. 2 points in the lead of the championship and 2.5 seconds in the lead of this race. The closest gap on field at the moment as Grant Turner just comes to pit exit is actually Bobby Ross and Frank Capper. I believe Bobby about to go for a move there. It would look like when he gets the opportunity. 4th through 7th actually all in a massive train. Here is the move from Bobby Ross as he looks to the outside. This is deep into sector 2. I think around the outside goes Bobby Ross, just trying to use all of the track that he can. He's still hanging it in there, Bobby Ross. Not a great deal of grip around the outside there, heading through the final corner. It's not banked anymore. And now down into turn 1, the Tarzan turn is going to be a really interesting moment. Further back, there you can see Chad Seep trying to go for a move. You can see moves all throughout the field, as I think that was Chad Seep or Bracture on Chad Seep, and absolutely incredible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars all in a train with each other. Bobby Ross trying to attack Frank Capper at the moment.
Yeah, and Cam really sent it into turn 1 there, trying to clear himself off of Eddie Aguiar, and that was a really bold move going into turn number 1. He almost threw himself off the racing surface, but great move from that number 85 car, and he moves himself into the top 5, and this is where the battle is going to be all race. And Jerry DiPiero has actually entered the pit lane. I'm not sure for what reason, and looks like maybe a bit of right front damage. I think I could be incorrect about that, but there's a really big battle happening for, it looks like P6, maybe P5 right now in the GT3 class as Jerry DiPiero pulls that BMW back out onto the track. Here these guys are. It looks like Bobby Ross is fighting with Frank Apple once again here. And it looks like Frank Apple, once again, he's going to get the better of that position. Bobby Ross was forced wide through that 90-degree corner. But Bobby has another run here. He's going to try to go to the inside. And he's not going to be close enough. Appa's going to cut him off into the second to last corner, and now through the final corner they come. And really, I think that middle sector is going to be Bobby's strong suit. He was really just all over the back bumper of Frank Appa through there, and really could potentially make a move there if he gets better off going into one of the corners where he's maybe not on the outside, maybe in the preferred lane, gets a little bit more speed and can clear Frank Appa to move himself back into the podium places.
Here goes Bobby Ross then, still just sitting behind at the moment. As we said, not the easiest place to overtake here. This would be banked in the real world now, and actually it's probably affecting Bobby Ross, the fact that it isn't, as you can really gain quite a bit of time on the guy ahead through there, given how incredible that turn is. But all of a sudden Bobby Ross has got to turn his attentions to Jake Ham behind, as it looks like Frank Appa is just ever so slightly gaining on him as we go through this lap.
Yeah, and like I said, I thought the middle sector was going to be Bobby Ross's strong suit here, so we're going to have to see if he can prove my point as he heads through this section. Looks like just losing more time than he's gaining here. He got a pretty good run late apexing that corner. He's brought the gap back within 5/10, but the entire 4th through 8th all separated by 5/10 of a second interval. So these guys all still really close together, and just they're waiting in line, waiting for the downfall of their competitors, just waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike and try and make a move. Here's Robert Schwenkler, who for the moment has checked out from James Keir behind him. And if everything goes his way, just needs to cruise around, not wreck that race car, and bring it home for a nice P1. But you can't count out James Keir behind him. We know how aggressive that driver is, and really anything could happen, as there still is over 35 minutes left in this race.
Well, credit to Robert Schwenkler, really. 7.5 seconds in the first couple of laps of a race. We're only on lap 5 of this 45-minute contest, and that is an incredible gap to have pulled immediately. I mean, you do the maths. That's over a second a lap. He's clearly got absolutely unbelievable pace in that car. I believe he's in the McLaren, isn't he, Robert Schwenkler? Looks like Bobby Ross has got past Frank Appa, though, off of camera, and they're still battling here. Around the outside goes Bobby Ross in that grey Mercedes, and actually, there's someone spun around. And I think that was one of the GT3s. It's got to be one of the GT3s. Perhaps
No, I know
Grant Turner.
Yeah, that was the 39 Aston Martin GT4 of Grant Turner that you saw stopped on the outside of that corner. Great job on him, you know, not trying to pull back in the racing line, giving these guys the space they need to race. And that was a really close battle between Bobby Ross and Frank Apple. Looks like Bobby's going to try it again here. He looks like he's going to try the outside. That wasn't working into that corner. Now he tries to dive to the inside. Appa blocks, and they're still single file through this section of racetrack. Bobby has the speed. He just needs to strike at the right moment, and this could be it. Frank Appa goes a little bit off into the dirt there. Bobby gets to his inside through these final two corners. I think he'll have him unless Frank Appa can pull something really big. There he goes. He gets clear, and Bobby Ross moves himself up into the podium places. Now we have to see what Jake Ham does down this straight, or Frank Appa can maybe try and make a move to get back around across the start-finish line. They come to start lap 6 into the inside of turn 1. It looks like Frank Appa is going to try and go for it here. And it looks like Bobby on the gas late, trying to get a good run off that high side. It looks like he's going to maintain that spot as they head down towards turn number 3. Bit of contact there. Great save there from Frank Appa to not go around in that car. But that was a pretty big hit from Jake Ham there in that Ferrari. Oh, once into the grass as well, and he's into the guardrail, or the Armco. That was Bratcher there in the 77, I believe. He went off. It looks like no damage to the front end. That was Devin Bratcher. No damage to the front of that Mercedes, so it looks like he's going to be okay to keep going, but very close to ending his night there in that Mercedes.
We have got a replay of what's happened to Grant Turner. Oh, he just dipped a wheel into the grass. That is so easy to do, Alex, and it's something that we see particularly in iRacing, actually, as rather ironically, given relatively recent events in the GT3 category on iRacing, but in the wrong place when you're applying the brakes. If you put a wheel onto the grass, it's actually more punishing in iRacing than in any other sim I've experienced. As another off-track, it appears, for Jimmy Howard in the Aston Martin, and just a simple case of understeer misjudging his braking points. That is a Devin Bratcher off track, because I'll talk about the other one in a moment. Here's what happened to Devin Bratcher. It looks like, again, ran out of road and applying the power onto the grass. It does actually well to save it. I'm going to call that a save for Devin Bratcher rather than an off track, so we'll give him that one. However, with that Aston Martin into that chicane, it's one of the most difficult corners to spot your mark on this circuit, as Frank Appa now under pressure from one of the Ferraris.
Ooh, Jake Ham very aggressive move. He's into the tire barrier. He collects another GT3 car as well. I think that might have been Chad Seep heading into turn number 3. A big incident here on lap number 7 of this race. It looked like Jakey was trying to get to the inside of Frank Appa through turn number 3. We know how difficult overtaking is here. That just looked like too aggressive from Jake Ham. Here's the replay, and it looks like Jakey tries to go to the outside there, tries to switch it back heading into turn 2, and it looks like just goes a little bit too far, gets off into the grass, hard into the tire barrier, collects Chad Seep as well. Devin Bratcher manages to avoid any contact. That is big damage to the front end of both that Ferrari and that Mercedes. Very unfortunate. And there's another car challenging Frank Appa as well. Eddie Aguiar in the number 31 Porsche hits him too. And it looks like a bit of a bump and run maybe. Aguiar backs off, realizes he's made a mistake, doesn't want to take the spot like that. But a lot of incidents so far on lap number 7 for these guys. And lap number 7 only a big wreck and a little bit of an accidental bump and run there.
Allowing the likes of Devin Bratcher as well to catch up, which is very interesting indeed. Not too much that Jake Ham could have done there, I'm afraid to say, as I don't think it was particularly aggressive from him, just the nature of the corner, that sometimes that can happen, and unfortunately that is the result. Here is Glenn McTavish in the Aston Martin, the GT4 car. Would be so much fun around this circuit, even in the older configuration, probably more so in the new configuration. Jake Ham is into the pits, presumably to repair his damage, and he has got one fast repair, which I think is very interesting. My question would be, Alex, you've got 30 minutes still left in this race. Do you take your fast repair now, or do you wait?
I think you should. I mean, when you come out of the pits like Jake Ham has right now, he doesn't have anybody really to fight against. You know, he's got Patrick Cobb at 3.7 seconds behind him, but then it's almost 30 seconds to the car in front of him. So I mean, I think it's just worth it to take the faster pair, just get a nice clean race car and just drive it nice and consistent around this circuit when you know you aren't going to be racing anybody. Pecorini encountering some lap traffic there as he moves around. I believe that was Robert Neville there in the 87 car. And now he's going to set his sights on Glenn McTavish as he attempts to lap the entire GT4 field. Here's Glenn McTavish going into turn number 1 in that G Fuel Aston Martin. There's Pecorini in the background going through turn 1. We're going to go through the field a little bit here. Eduardo Pecorini, the first 13 minutes of this race, the first 9 laps of this race, and he's led them all so far up here, just sitting pretty in this number 47 BMW, doing a great job so far as per usual. Behind him, Kerry Cantera was riding just around the top 5. Bit of an incident happened and moved him up a few places. Actually, no, excuse me, he wasn't involved in that incident. He's just been up here, consistent, calm, smooth. He's up here since the start, and it looks like he's going to stay there as he tries to just wrestle down the final half hour of this race. Behind him is Bobby Ross, got around Frank Appa and just pulled away from those guys, and now he just sits inside the podium exactly where he wants and needs to be in that Mercedes. Behind him, Frank Appa was the bit of a stem of a couple incidents here, but he's still doing really good there, sitting P4. Behind him, Eddie Aguiar tries to make a move in that Porsche.
Here he goes. Can he find the room around the outside as the corner opens itself up? Just going on to the marbles for a moment, and a factor I think I touched on briefly earlier on in the stream, and I want to touch on again. I know at Circuit of the Americas last time out, actually, I had a whole tirade against people saying that as the race progresses, the track temperature decreasing has an effect on the tyre wear. But rather uncharacteristically, I think it does actually have an effect today, not in terms of the progression throughout the race. However, only being the second European race of the season, it's been a fair while since Europe. We're running at, temperature-wise, 3 in the morning in the Netherlands. As here goes the move for Aguiar, which means it's going to be just that little bit more difficult to get the track temperature, or get the tyre temperature. Can he go around the outside? My word, Aguiar can go around the outside. He's going to try it into turn 1. Still going here around the outside and just unable to make the move stick. He's still alongside though, and the Mercedes turns across him.
And that was very aggressive there. I think that might have been on Frank Appa there. I don't want to point blame, but it looked like he just turned across the nose of Eddie Aguiar, not realizing he was still there. And that puts Devin Bratcher in the position to maybe make a move on Eddie Aguiar back there in P6, who is now just on the back bumper of the number 31 car. That's going to put him in a great spot here. He's run a quiet race back here, but he's doing great job. He's doing a great job for himself in that Mercedes. Behind him, Jake Ham, Patrick Cobb, all involved in that incident. Oh, wow, that's a really bold move to the inside of Eddie Aguiar. Wow. Devin Bratcher flexing some muscle here to show that he can most certainly make some moves to try and get around these guys. Here's the replay of that move, and it looks like he just late braking dove straight to the inside of Aguiar. Really bold move, but a really well-placed move. Moves him up a places. Now he tries to chase down Frank Appa to try and be what I want to say is probably the 3rd or 4th person to try and make a move on him this race. But up front, they have 2 GT4 cars racing for position, Rob Neville and Paul Mikolajczyk. They have to look out for these guys and pass them in a good manner. I think they're going to catch them on the straight, so they shouldn't be much of an issue. But it could very well affect somebody as they head into the pits. Paul Mikolajczyk, bit of front-end damage there. I think Frank Appa, Frank Appa and Kerry Cantera pitted that lap, so pit stop's very well underway.
And there went Appa down the inside. Wonderful move. Paul Mikolajczyk still running with that damage he received on the first lap of this race with that misjudged exit out of a corner and into the wall. He's able to recover quite nicely at the moment, challenging 4th position. Here is Chad Seep, and we've just seen a flurry of pit stops come in as well, with Frank Appa actually at pit exit, it's telling me on the screen. Robert Schwenkler leading the way by 15 seconds now, and the number 21 Mercedes just coming out of the pits. expecting a two-stop race here, and more solidified by the fact that these pit stops are ever so slightly early. We expected 10 to 12 laps on the tank, but we expected that to take 19 minutes or so, as this is a battle between Mikulajczyk and Neville.
And Mikulajczyk trying to wheel that damaged McLaren to the best of his abilities, and he's doing a pretty good job at it, still maintaining and even closing that gap a little bit back there. He has to just try and keep calm here, trying not to get worked up about the incident early on in this race. Just try and wait for that pit stop, maybe use the faster pair. Oh, a little bit loose going into that corner there. Almost did exactly what he did earlier once more, but there was a battle going on between Devin Bratcher and Eddie Aguiar, and it looks like they're all coming into the pits this lap now. So all the GT3 cars into the pits: Eduardo Pecorini, Bobby Ross, Eddie Aguiar, Devin Bratcher, and then Robert Schwenkler and Glenn McTavish, as well as Rob Neville and Paul Mikulajczyk follow suit. And it looks like Pecorini's out of the pits. Robert Schwenkler follows right behind him. Everybody else still stationary in their pit stalls. Nobody moving just yet. There's Mikulajczyk entering his pit stall. Wonder if he's probably going to take that faster pair for that McLaren. Here's Grant Turner. It looks like he's already pitted, I do believe, if not stayed out this time. Bobby Ross, Eddie Aguiar, and Devin Bratcher are out of the pits. You can see Patrick Cobb there. I believe he still has to make his pit stop. And Frank Appa is going to end up just in front of these guys entering turn one. So Devin Bratcher is going to have to get back around him, I believe. But it looks like Eddie Aguiar is going to be in the clear at the moment. But Frank Appa is still pretty close to him. And Devin Bratcher is still right on the back bumper of that number 21 car. So this GT3 battle is going to continue till the end of this race.
It's been a superb GT3 battle, hasn't it? Bratcher somehow up there in that 6th position. We saw him slowly catching, didn't we? And mentioned it, but suddenly having that opportunity. Here is someone who is technically leading the GT4 category, but Robert Schwenkler, in actuality, is leading the GT4 category, and he is probably wondering where on earth his fellow driver has got up to in this league. Here is James Keir into the pits. Robert Schwenkler having an absolutely dominant performance here. He is well on for a Grand Slam. Once I confirmed to myself that he had... Oh no, he didn't lead this lap. I'm trying to... Oh, he crossed the line, so I'm hearing in my ear. Sorry. So yes, he did technically, or will technically, get the Grand Slam here if he's able to get the fastest lap of the race, which by my reckoning he currently has by about 2 seconds, which I think is incredible. 9/10 of a second to the next fastest car.
Here's the lap times from everybody. For GT3, Eduardo Pecorini has the fastest lap of the race by the better part of a second there with a 1:35.1, and for the GT4s, Robert Schwenkler with a 1:44.6 there, almost 2 seconds faster than the driver. Actually, no, it looks like just under a second faster than the driver behind him. So great job by that 235 car. And like you said, Tom, I think he is well on the way for a Grand Slam. But this battle heating up once again. Devin Bratcher is caught up to Frank Appa. Jake Ham right there as well. I don't think he's going to be too happy about the way Frank Appa raced him. So we have to be lenient, or we have to just maintain a watch on this battle, and it looks like a bit of a mistake from Appa there. That allows Bratcher to get to the inside, and it looks like he's going to complete the move through turn number 9. Devin Bratcher moves himself into the top 5, and now Jake Ham has to try and get around him as well, unless Frank Appa can catch back up to that 77 car. So Ham is going to look all over the track here. He has a bit of a run. Appa defends to the inside, and it looks like, oh, contact there once again between these two. And it looks like Jake Ham is going to just have to settle for 7th for now. But he still definitely has that pace in that number 85 Ferrari after taking that faster pair. There's no doubt in my mind that he could get this move done.
Frank Appa's defending has been something that is a testament to his skill. To only have just been overtaken for that 5th position is wonderful, but Jake Ham is not going to want to be defended here as he heads down into turn 1, has a look to the outside, and then just rather sensibly sets himself up for the switchback, gets the switchback, and that is almost perfect. If he could just make it swick, and he can't make it stick. And I don't know what swick means, but he definitely can't make it stick. It's just into the grass as well.
I do believe what happened there is he got a bit loose off the corner.
Oh,
Frank Apple off track and into the Armco. That's going to allow Jake Ham to easily go around. And now our closest battle on track is the one between Rob Neville and Paul Mikolajczyk there for P3 in the GT4 class. It looks like Paul has taken his faster pair, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he has. The front end of that McLaren is brand new, and he's right on the back bumper of that Porsche as they head into turn number 3. Looks like he's going to go for a bit of a late apex here to try and close the gap down this straight. He's getting it really close here, under 0.2 of a second as they head down this straight. It's not really a straight, it's more just like an S's straight for these guys, but it looks like he's going to back off for now. Let Rob have the spot, as he knows he could probably make this move at any time, but the battle for the GT3 cars is heating up as Jake Ham is going to try and get around Devin Bratcher, and Frank Appa is still in the picture with these guys as well. Paul Mikolajczyk gets a nice run around the outside of that corner, trying to just maintain pace, and I think the overlays were lying to me a little bit there. So that gap for the GT3 car is still pretty big there for those guys. But this GT4 battle, these two are right on top of each other.
Yes, absolutely. Is Mikolajczyk now to the inside? He goes. Can he just get through? Absolutely. He can use that fast repair in the pit stop and has now got himself up into 3rd position for his troubles. With only 20 minutes to go, I wonder, has he got the pace to chase after James Keir in 2nd position? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, if Paul Mikolajczyk had the pace to keep up with Robert Schwenkler, I do think he has the pace to keep up and maybe even get around James Keir if he had more time. I don't think there's going to be enough time left in this race for the driver of this number 01 car to draw himself all the way up to the middle of the short chute now between turns 3 and 6, I believe, to try and just get himself up into 2nd. So I think he definitely has the pace in that McLaren. I just don't think he has enough time to get the move done for himself. Still a really great drive and a great recovery from the mistake early on, and he's doing a great job behind the wheel of that race car.
Superb job indeed at the moment, Paul Mikolajczyk, and well, after that huge mistake in lap 1, he's suddenly managed to get himself back into this race and well into contention as well, though I'm sure he'll be after James Keir at any opportunity possible. Robert Schwenkler, by the way, 20 seconds ahead of the rest of the GT4 category. And that is not even as good as Edoardo Pecorini, who's only 14 seconds ahead of the GT3 cars.
Yeah, and Pecorini just still sitting pretty up there in that BMW. But I want to take a look at what Eddie Aguiar is doing right now behind Bobby Ross, because if I'm not mistaken, he's been closing this gap just a little bit to Bobby in front of him. It hasn't been by much, but it's gotten to the point where at some points on track, Eddie has gotten himself within a second of Bobby Ross in front of him. I think the middle sector right here is Eddie's strong suit. He's really able to just close up that gap time. However, Bobby Ross ran his fastest lap of the race right there. It looks like Eddie Aguiar improves by 0.3 in Sector 3 alone. And that just shows that Porsche really has the mid-corner grip and can make these corners really well to give himself a lot of speed, up 0.2 through Sector 4. Bobby Ross stuck in traffic too with the 39 Porsche there. That is Grant Turner. It looks like Eddie is going to easily get by him without much interference, so that's going to hurt Bobby even more. The gap under a second now as they head through the final 2 corners.
How has Bobby Ross let this slip is going to be the question that he's asking himself as they get close to that lap to traffic of the BMW. But it just seems that the guys behind him have had so much pace in this race that it's really pulled the wool over his eyes in many ways. He'll try and get around this BMW now. He does nice and easily, but it's all going to be about trying to build a gap to Eddie Aguiar, and I think it's going to be a more difficult task than we think. But Bobby Ross in a little bit of a situation at the moment.
Eddie Aguirre's middle sector has been on it for these last couple of laps, and Aguirre. I kept forgetting about that a little bit. Sorry. So Eddie Aguirre's middle couple of sectors have been really smooth, really fast, and really consistent here. You can just see the gap. It was 1.7 by the time they got to the end of that little straight. Now it's already down to 1.3. So Eddie Aguirre definitely faster through these middle sectors. And it looks like the Mercedes is just able to get the power down better to the first two, but it looks like we have a car off track. That's Glenn McTavish here in the number 71 Aston Martin. Looks like he just misjudged the braking zone, brings it off track. No harm, no foul. He gets it back on track without any damage done, except maybe to a little bit of his pride. Doesn't lose a spot there in P5 of the GT4 class. Just a little bit of a mishap there. And Eddie Aguirre, I mean, look at that. He gained 0.7 of a second through the middle sectors that lap. There's no doubt in my mind that he could possibly catch up to Bobby Ross and potentially make a move to get around him.
Now, if you're Bobby Ross, as you head into the next pit stop, which we expect to start to see in the next 10 minutes time or so, do you take a risk here and say, okay, clearly Eddie behind me has got the better pace, which means I'm going to not take a full set of tyres, but if possible, of course, take maybe half a set of tyres and think, perhaps I'm going to be a little bit faster. A word from our producer.
Hey guys, apologies again for popping in again, but Alex, Tom, I don't know, Tom, if you've been on this broadcast for the whole season, but Bobby has been a bit notorious for pulling some Ferrari pit stops here. Seems to be just a little bit of slow out of the pits, and that really could give Eddie the chance that he needs to get around him.
So you say Ferrari pit... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, this is why I'm suggesting perhaps taking those tyres. If you're going to fall into the clutches anyway of Eddie, you might as well, when you come into the pits, perhaps put, if possible, of course, I haven't seen the specific rules like that. I know it's a 30% tank and they have unlimited tyre sets, so presumably they can put half a set on. But depending on how much it loses you, just take the few seconds that it may take. You've got plenty of time to fracture behind. Why not take the risk in the hope that you can catch up to Eddie in the last 10 minutes? Eddie is on his way and trying to attack.
Yeah, but the only thing is, these guys shouldn't need tires to make it to the end of this race. I mean, it could improve the speed, but if Bobby isn't used to driving on half fresh tires, half old tires, I mean, it could just hurt his race car more than helping him. So honestly, I would say if I were behind the wheel of that 33 car, just stay out, try and make the most of it. You know, this track is pretty difficult to pass. Just try and block the best you can in the sections where Aguirre is faster, and just try and maintain P3 and wait for the next pit stops. Obviously, Adam, you said Ferrari pit stops. I knew exactly what you meant there, so we just got to make sure Bobby doesn't make mistakes on pit road, but apparently he's been a little notorious for that, so we're going to have to see what he does when he enters pit road. But just watch Eddie Aguirre's middle couple of sectors and just the gap and how much it closes through these couple of turns. Already down to 0.5 of a second on the brakes for this one, and it looks like a bit of a late apex for Aguirre there, and going to sit at just over 0.6 for now, but under 0.4 into that corner there, and he's still able to get the power down and not lose any of that time on exit. Eddie Aguirre just so incredibly fast through these middle corners, and he's just doing a really good job at showing that. The gap was around 1.5 seconds. It's down to just 0.3 now as they head towards the final couple of corners for the 20th time tonight.
31 laps of, or 31 minutes of 45 completed, and at the moment it looks like Edoardo Pecorini leading the way in the GT3 category, but Bobby Ross under pressure from Eddie Aguirre, and at the moment it's not really helping him. Rob Neville into the pits. That is going to be his second pit stop of the day, and we'll wait and see whether it's going to cost him a great deal of time compared to his rivals. Pitting this early is you've got still another 13 minutes to go in the race.
Yeah, and the pit stops, I do believe they're going to start taking place around lap 22 to 24, so we're not far away from them at all. I do believe both the GT3s and GT4s are going to have to pit maybe one more time. Somebody could try and stretch it, but I don't think they can through the last 13 or 12 and a half minutes of this race. And Eddie Aguiar, it looks like his middle sector pace has slowed down a little bit. He still makes up a ton of time, but it's not as at where he was here. You can see he loses some time on the exit of that corner, not able to nail it that time through. He's still doing a pretty good job at maintaining pace, though. He's in the slipstream of Bobby down these straights into the final couple of corners. Looks like he gets the power well off that corner, starts making the gap close into the final two onto the brakes. And it looks like Bobby really onto that curb, and that's going to hurt him a lot. But Eddie Aguiar isn't going to be able to take advantage because he dipped his tires off into the gravel, but he still has a pretty good run down the main straight. This could be it. He's closing the gap still. Bobby tries to make a block to the inside, but Eddie Aguiar gets there. They go side by side into turn number one. Bobby's still going to end up with the top spot out of that fight. But that just shows you right there that Bobby feels the pressure. He made a big mistake by riding the apron, or by riding the curb there. And it looks like Rob Neville might have gone off track as well. Here's a replay of it. And it looks like exactly what happened to the Aston Martin earlier. Just onto the brakes too hard, gets it back onto the track. No harm, no damage done to that Porsche. And he's able to continue on just fine. But you can tell from that mistake and how far Bobby Ross ate that curb, you can tell he's feeling the pressure. And Eddie Aguiar probably has him exactly where he wants him. But this isn't the only battle going on at the moment, as Grant Turner is under 0.2 of a second behind Glenn McTavish in the GT4 class. Here they go through turn number 3. Looks like Grant Turner gets the run out of the corner. They come side by side down this straightaway. Turner needs that side draft. He's not going to be able to get it down here. Still under 0.3 of a second with that gap, and he's doing a great job maintaining it. So now we have 2 battles to cover on track in the latter stages of this race.
It's probably one of the more entertaining XTC races that I've covered, actually, as the battle's just going on through, even if it hasn't been constant action. Bobby Ross finally concedes the position to Eddie, and now Grant Turner trying to make the move further back, and unsurprisingly Bobby Ross dives into the safety of the pit lane. Kerry Cantera also in, and it looks like he had an off track, and this would explain that. And oh no, Bobby, it was onto the curb and the car's got loose and he's into the gravel, and that's one way of letting someone get by you.
Yeah, and it looks like he just saw the opportunity of the mistake he had made, pit that lap to minimize the damage. Now we have to see where Eddie Aguiar is going to end up coming out of the pits. It looks like Cantera was in the pits that lap as well. Bratcher is currently heading out of the pits. Jimmy Howlett currently just stuck in the pits. It looks like he's just retired that car. Grant Turner, however, is really just trying to chase down this Aston Martin. You'll see how much time he makes up through turn number 1. It looks like a bit of a mistake from Glenn McTavish as well. That's going to allow him to continue to close that gap through turns 2 and 3 onto the brakes for the kink, and into turn number 3 they come, and it looks like Turner tries to make a dive to the inside here. They end up side by side off that straight, and Glenn McTavish relents the position. Grant Turner moves himself up into P number 4.
Still trying here is McTavish to get back at Grant Turner, which in the next 5-10 minutes or so is going to be pretty much the order of the day for him. And I think the question here is, when are we really going to start to see the next pit stops? And the question for Eduardo Pecorini and Eddie is that they're going to see the next pit stops right now. The question is, where is Aguiar going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of Bobby Ross? It's 10 seconds that gap, it looks like. Where is Bobby Ross at the moment? He's heading through the final corner now. Well, the final 2 corners. And I think the number 31 should be okay here. He's absolutely going to be okay. And in fact, he almost jumped Kerry Cantera there. Bobby Ross, I'm afraid to say, podium dreams sort of extinguishing at this point in the race with 8 minutes to go.
Yeah, now we have to keep an eye on what Eddie Aguiar can do to try and catch up to Kerry Cantera. That was very close to James Keir in that McLaren. Almost made contact, and there's the BMW Patrick Cobb in front of him as well. And now we have to see what this driver can do to try and catch up to Kerry Cantera, who's been in second pretty much the entire race. And he's done a great job just being nice and consistent and smooth and just maintaining this gap. We'll have to see what Eddie Aguiar does through Sector 3 there, trying to get around him. It looks like he's cut off a little bit of time there, so I think Aguiar definitely has the pace to try and just attempt to close that gap a little. We'll have to see what the Sector 4 time is on them, although I'm not sure with only 7 minutes remaining in this race. I don't think he'll have enough time. We'll see what Eddie Aguiar does across the timing line for Sector 4. It looks like he's knocked out another 500s, but I don't think that'll be enough to try and get around him.
Well, plenty of time to go in order to make a move. It's getting towards the end of this race, but there's still a lot of time, I think, is the key thing here. Perhaps not if you're chasing like Bobby Ross. 6 seconds or so might be a little bit more difficult for him. But if you're someone like Glenn McTavish, there's a real opportunity to get past Grant Turner, which I think is going to be the real battle that we have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and it looks like Aguiar, I mean, he's got the gap under 4 seconds. He most certainly is closing it from where he started there up in second position. And I don't think he has the time. I mean, and it looks like Turner, he's gotten the gap extended between him and Glenn McTavish, so he's just able to ride content there. It looks like McTavish pulling that Aston Martin into the pits there. So I think GT4 pit stops are going to be coming up shortly. So now we'll have to see if Glenn McTavish can work the undercut to try and get around Turner once again here in the latter stages of this race. And Aguiar, I mean, he's still just closing that gap. I mean, he's doing a really good job in closing it. He's got it to 3.3 seconds now. Really strong pace in that Porsche. I mean, he's got it to under 3 seconds. Honestly, I'm starting to second guess myself now. Look at the time he's knocked out through those sectors. Just almost, I believe, an entire second just through the first 4 sectors, and he's still closing the gap. I think he is going to get him here. He's got the gap to just over 2 seconds, 7 tenths out of that sector. I think he's going to get him now at this rate.
Is there something more sinister going on with Kerry Cantera, or is it just absolutely incredible pace from Aguiar? Because at the moment, he is catching, and within the next lap, he's going to be within striking distance. 2.1 seconds faster in a single lap is absolutely dominant in normal circumstances. 1.4 seconds now. And I'm trying to have a look at Kerry Cantera's previous lap time. It was a 1:38.5. So actually, there is a little bit of a problem with Kerry Cantera. He is slower than the car ahead of him and the car behind him. And I wonder whether that is not looking after his tyres correctly, or whether he's just run out of trying to save fuel to get to the end of the race. Let's have a listen in to see if he's trying to lift through some of the corners. I think he is. Let's have a quick listen in. Sorry, Alex. Yeah, listen to the lift heading into the corner. He's trying to fuel save. It's only slight.
Yeah, so that would explain how he's losing this time. You could hear it through those couple of corners. So Kerry Cantera, not sure if he can make it to the end of this race, trying to save a bit of fuel, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do that when he has a Porsche riding his back bumper, trying to get up into P2 there. So I'm not sure what he'll be able to do here, because obviously I would think he wants to maintain second, but at the same time he has to make it there first. So with Eddie Aguiar getting under 0.4 of a second, what do you do if you're in Kerry Cantera's position? Do you try and save fuel and just relent the position? Or do you try and stick it out and just try and defend that position? Or do you save some fuel there?
You've got to defend the position. Here's what happened to Jake Ham, just into the grass, and that was a wonderful little save, actually. Not too many issues there. Here is a really big moment. Kerry Cantera under a lot of pressure in the Mercedes. He's trying to save a little bit of fuel in the number 333. We know that much. He's much slower than Agua, but he's only going to have 2 laps at the line to hold him off. The question is, has he saved enough fuel? Is he going to be able to hold on to this position? He's just got to be a little bit smart about this, and I think the answer to your question, Alex, is he's got to defend like an absolute lion, but that's not how to do it, as now Kerry is pulled alongside of and trying to still go through here. Agua just trying to do what he can, but it's not working at the moment as they head into the final few corners.
Yeah, Aguiar he's there. I mean, he's close enough to make the move. It's just where do you do it? We've seen so many moves not be able to be pulled off just because of unfortunate circumstances here. We've seen it in turn 3, turn 10, all over the place. Now we have to see what Eddie Aguiar has learned throughout this entire race to try and put himself back in the position he started this race in. He'll get a nice slipstream down the straightaway. We'll have to see if we can do anything with it. That gap closing, Cantera defends to the inside. Aguiar sticks it out up top. And it looks like he's going to try and maintain it, try and bank off the fact that Kerry could mess up a corner and leave some space right on the back bumper of him through turns number 2 and 3. I believe this is 2 laps to go for these guys, so he has to turn the jets on if he wants to get back up into P2. And Kerry Cantera not fuel saving anymore. He can't if he wants to maintain second position. And Eddie Aguiar still on the back bumper and very well in this fight.
It would have been a lap remaining on their pace, but Eduardo Pecorini is so far down the road that he's forcing them to do another lap, as Aguiar just trying to shift and slide his way through here, going every which way under the braking, trying to just show his nose at any opportunity. Look at how he's opened up the corner, trying to look for the cutback, can't quite find the cutback, and now Cantera trying to hold on to this second position, and he's holding on to it as if it was the lead of the race. He'll go defensive once more as Aguiar tries to go around the outside. Not the most ideal position for him to go around the outside into the chicane, as now he won't get as good of a run into the final couple of corners. But here we go as they head onto the final lap of this race. Eddie Aguiar is going to try and attack Kerry Cantera one final time down the pit straight, Alex.
Yeah, Eduardo Pecorini has already taken the white flag, but this is the real battle on track for a second in the GT3 and overall standings. Ooh, it looked like Cantera messed up that corner a little bit. That allows Aguiar to pull side by side with him through turn number 2. It looks like a bit of crowding going into that corner. Aguiar still throws his nose in there 3 wide with the GT4 car, Glenn McTavish. Here they come through turn number 3. Eddie Aguiar gets to the outside through this little straightaway. Can he maintain it? No, he can't. He's still trying to put his nose in there, but he's not going to be able to do it at the moment. He's going to have to settle for third for now. Still, he has an opportunity later on in the lap if he can just keep it smooth and consistent. Great run out of that corner. He's going to pull it to the outside, side by side into turn number 5. And it looks like Kerry Cantera is going to still maintain that spot on the inside. And it looks like Aguiar is just going to have to try and bank on a mistake from this number 2 car into turn number 10 for the final time, and down the short chute, Eduardo Pecorini takes the victory once again. But here's the real battle on track. Aguiar, this will be his last shot onto the brakes for the chicane for the last time. He's not gonna get there, and I don't think he'll have another shot at it. Through the final 2 corners, these 2 will come. It's been a great battle all race, and unless Aguiar can pull something really from far down in his pocket, I think this is going to go the way of the 333 car, and that's what's going to happen. Kerry Cantera, great drive all race, and he's going to keep P2 Aguiar has to settle for third, and I think there's another battle on track between the 21 and the 85 car for position here. Yeah, it is. We got another battle in GT3s for the last lap here, and he got him. J-Cam gets around Frank Appa, but what can Appa do? Almost nails him straight in the rear bumper, but J-Cam is going to take that spot away, and it looks like he'll take P6 overall unless Frank Appa can do something major. Robert Schwenkler across the line to win the race for GT4s as everybody else just finishes their laps up. Here's James Keir heading to the final couple of corners. You can see the battling GT3 cars behind him, but he'll round the final corner to take P2 at the end of the day. And behind them, J-Cam and Frank Appa, after a last lap battle, are going to end up P6 and P7. 3 wide across the line from 2 different classes. Great shot there. And a little bit of fun happening after the race. Looks like almost a bit of an incident there between those guys. And a bit of contact. Those 2 are not happy with each other. That was most certainly intentional between J-Cam. It looked like he just straight up turned Frank Appa after the line. I think that might have been from the incident that he got involved with earlier in the race when he and Chad Seep spun. There's the move for the spot. And I think that was a bit of frustration showing from that number 85 Ferrari.
One of that, or he was just giving him a friendly tap. I'd like to see the better side in people. As Edoardo Beccarini wins the race absolutely dominantly in the GT3 class. Kerry Cantera in second position, with Bobby Ross finishing 4th behind Eduardo Aguiar in the end, though definitely trying was Aguiar and Cantera. Bobby Ross couldn't quite get back up to the number 31 in the end. Devin Bradshaw finishes in 5th position, with Jake Ham crossing the line in 6th, Frank Appa in 7th, with Chad Seek in 8th, and Patrick Cobb finishing 9th.
Yeah, and you'll... sorry. You'll see the slow-mo replay of what happened here as we read over the GT4 standings. Robert Schwenkler easily gets the win there by 35 seconds. James Keir ends up P2. Paul Mikulajczyk with a great rebound there to get back into P3. Here you'll see it. I want to take a break from the results real quick. Here you'll see what happened. I don't know if it was intentional. I mean, it looked like Frank Appa, he hit the brakes there. Maybe Jake wasn't expecting it. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but that looked very much intentional from that Ferrari. I'm not sure. But Rob Neville finishes P4. Grant Turner ends up P5. Glenn McTavish in P6. And Jimmy Howitt in P7. Jerry DiPiero looks like wrecked out early in that BMW. Never finished the race. And I think we should get to some interviews here as people start to trickle in. First off, we're going to grab Robert Schwenkler here. If I'm having a bit of lagging difficulties on my side of Tom, if you could be so kind as to pull him in for me.
Yep, I can. And I also just want to finally say, I don't think we should read too much into that incident at the end of the race. Probably won't be looked at by the stewards anyway. And it's just something that can happen. We've got Robert with us. And Robert, Grand Slam, I don't think it could have gone any better than that today. Just why did you have so much pace over the competitors today?
I just put in a lot of practice this past week. James Keir and I both were partnering up in practice sessions, and not very many people joining. So I think it was just track time, honestly. I know there were a couple people that said they hadn't done any laps prior to qualifying or prior to the practice with the session for the race. So just track time, I think, is all it came down to.
Trying to lead the fight back in the championship as we head into the final 4 or 5 rounds of the season. If you keep putting in performances like today, are you feeling like you're still in good standing over there after a couple of weeks not making up too much ground?
Yeah, that last week, or the last event, had some technical difficulties. I'm still reeling from that. But I don't know exactly where Grant ended up. I know he's up there at the top of the points table for GT4. So I think I have a decent shot. If I can just be consistent and hopefully my power doesn't go out anymore, we'll be good.
I'll throw over to Alex and ask if he's got any final questions.
That's all I got. I don't got anything, but just great job on your win today in the GT4 class, and a great drive from you there in that McLaren.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Big shout out to you guys for the coverage. Everybody watching, friends and family. Big shout out to Frankie for letting me do this thing, as always. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you very much. And we'll drag in winner of the GT4 category, Eduardo Pecorini. Eduardo, similar story to Rob in that you basically pulled away and didn't have any company all race long. And talk us through your rather lonely race.
Hi, Tom. Thanks. Yeah, it was a long race. Yeah, a little bit alone. I think the BMW was the right car this time, so it allowed me to build a gap. And when you are cruising with a big gap to the guys behind, you don't get errors and you keep your pace. So it's easier to maintain a gap. So that was it.
Extending your lead in the championship, it was only 2 points into this round. What's your kind of strategy to going on to winning this championship? Is there any sort of strategic taking points, or are you just going to go all out and try and win every race you can?
Yeah, you gotta go for each race, and you gotta try to win all the time, but it's important to have in mind the championship and don't get in trouble in the first corner or something like that. So if you're not at the front, you gotta be smart, keep the car together, and it's a long race always. 45 minutes gives you time to recover, so the strategy is not to crash.
Thank you very much. And unless
Thanks,
Alex has got any final questions, we'll let you go. Alex?
Oh, no, that's all I got.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Yep, most certainly. And I'll drag you back. Congrats on the win, and hope to see you up here. I know we'll see you up here again. So, congrats on the win.
Thank you, man. See you.
And that was Eduardo Pecorini, the winner of the day. And I do believe that is going to be it for the interviews, if I am not mistaken.
Yep, just the 2 first places. And then we'll have some final thoughts before we go through the upcoming broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And we'll get wrapped up. As for final thoughts, well, for me, I thought it was a very entertaining race, and I'd love to see more. I'm quite critical of this layout of Zandvoort. Would have been made better if we had the modern track changes. However, it was still a very entertaining race, probably one of the best of the season in my eyes.
Most certainly. That was honestly a lot more than I was expecting from a track like Zandvoort, especially with the one that iRacing has in place. So definitely just a great job from everybody and a great race all around. But for the upcoming broadcast, and actually, I do want to talk about something real quick, and that was just the last lap battle. I mean, just something to discuss, something to take away or think about, rather. I mean, what do you think Eddie Aguiar could have done to try and maybe just make up that gap there?
Absolutely nothing you can do there. It's just one of those things. Sometimes you haven't quite got the pace to match your rival, and, well, not necessarily the pace, but sometimes your rival just defends better than you can attack, and I think that's just a simple case of what happened there.
Well, that is going to do it for us, but first we have our upcoming broadcast tomorrow night. The SBO Network's American Muscle Series returns from the newly rescanned Indianapolis Road Course at 9:05 p.m. EST in those Mustang FR500Ss. You're not going to want to miss that. Then this Thursday, Spec 5 returns once again at 9:15 p.m. EST for the Mazda Miata MX-5s at Road Atlanta. Then this Sunday, the XSLR Championship returns for their second race in the Oval Division, the 2008 Chevy Silverado NASCAR trucks at Talladega Superspeedway. That's going to be a great race at 8:10 p.m. EST this Sunday. Definitely not going to want to miss that, but that's going to do it for us. My name is Alex Anderson. I have been joined in the commentary booth by Tom Dillon with Adam Thompson in our virtual production truck for round 6 of season 2 of the XTC Championship. And everyone, have a good night.